absolutely crap upstairs, which is why we're doing this from the wonderful ambiance of my underground parking garage. However, the order of the day remains unchanged, and that is of course this brand spanking, all new and long awaited GSXR 1000. The reason I say long awaited is that despite the fact that Suzuki's pretty much always had a GSXR 1000 on sale, in the last couple of years they've never really given it the updates or the modifications that it needed. The last few years has really seen a new generation of superbikes such as BMW's S1000RR, Aprilia's RSV4, and the Suzuki GSXR 1000 just couldn't really keep up with it. However, for 2017 that is complete history, because this is an all-new bike. It comes crammed with MotoGP technology, it puts out about 200 horsepower, it has a really advanced electronics package, 3 engine modes, 10-stage traction control, ABS. On top of that, it's got some really nice show suspension, it's fitted with Brembos, and on paper at least, this promises to be a very, very fast package. So just to clarify, this is the standard GSXR 1000. There is also a GSXR 1000R, which has better suspension, slightly more advanced electronics, and a quick shifter. It costs $2.5 grand more over here in Holland. I can't really speak for most of those things. This is the standard version, but I can already tell you that the quick shifter, I did miss on this. However, when I got on this bike a week ago, I kind of had 2 preconceptions about it. The first being that it was going to be ridiculously fast. It is 200 horsepower after all. And the second was going to be that because of that 200 horsepower figure, it was probably going to be quite unmanageable and rather intimidating. Now, the first preconception I had about it being ridiculously fast was absolutely on the money. It is stupidly fast, especially the way power builds up higher in the revs, and once you sort of go past that 200 km/h mark, even there the acceleration, it does not stop. It is absolutely lightning fast. The second preconception that I had about it being a bit intimidating was absolutely wrong. And I think the biggest takeaway from my week with the GSXR is that this is one of the most comfortable, most accessible bikes on the market right now. And I'm really surprised to say that, because I never thought I'd call a 200 horsepower superbike comfortable. So I have a 2007 Yamaha R6, which is quite a compact bike. The dimensions of it are very similar to this GSXR, and despite the fact that that's not an uncomfortable bike, it pales in comparison to this. So the pegs are quite high on this, it's to the Super Sport, but the clip-ons are also relatively high, and despite the fact that it's a really compact bike in terms of dimensions, somehow they've managed to give it a really roomy seating position. I'm not quite sure how they've done it, but they've done an absolutely fantastic job. It is genuinely comfortable. The other thing that's really impressed me about this is the handling, especially the turning. A lot of 1000cc superbikes, they used to be quite heavy, you really have to push them into the corner, and this feels like a 600. It's really, really impressive. It turns in beautifully at actually any speed you can imagine, whether you're just sort of pottering around town, whether you're taking an on-ramp, an off-ramp, if you're taking a back road. The turn is super natural, it's really easy to put down, very light, very linear as well, and just generally the handling is absolutely beautiful on this. The suspension is really good. Never actually had a point where I felt it was lacking in that department. I wouldn't say blunt, but definitely not sharp like maybe a ZX10 is. Yeah, just really nice and really accessible, really easy. It's a bike that's very easy to drive fast. And that brings me to my next point, which is of course the engine. Now this has a bunch of MotoGP technology, it's got variable valve timing, a bunch of other stuff I don't quite understand. But the important thing is that it puts out about 200 horsepower at around 14,000 RPM. Now 200 horsepower is an absolute shit ton. And I was expecting it to be really intimidating for exactly that reason. But the way they've developed the engine is it's extremely linear in terms of power delivery. So whereas some bikes will kind of be like nothing, and then boom, they'll hit you with, whatever it is they're putting out. They can be quite manageable, they can be quite scary as well. So sudden wheelies, this is a bit surprising really. This is exactly the opposite. It's really linear. There is no point that the horsepower kicks in that you go, this is too much or this is unexpected. It's really predictable, really linear, really easy to manage, and it makes it, again, a really easy bike to ride. The other thing that I really like that Suzuki's done on this GSXR1000 is the 3 different riding modes. There's an A, a B, and a C mode. A is the fastest, of course, C is the slowest. But I think a better way to describe the different riding modes would be 1000cc, 750, and 600cc. If you put it in one of the lower modes, it literally feels like it has a smaller engine. And while in some of the 2 lower modes they might have the occasional hiccup in terms of throttle response, in terms of fueling, that only really happens at really small throttle openings. As soon as you sort of go beyond 10-20%, there is none of that. The fueling is beautiful. But they've literally made 3 different bikes in one. The first 2 days that I had it, still getting used to it, I had it in the B mode, and it literally felt like a 750. Really manageable. Of course, the handling was exactly the same, brakes are the same. More than enough power to get around, enough to really give it a little bit of thrashing on the highway, but not intimidating, and also it didn't feel like a liter bike, and it definitely didn't feel like 200 horsepower. So after that I put it in the A mode, which is the full fat, full power attack mode. It doesn't quite have the grunt that maybe BMW's S1000RR has. It has more than enough to get you around, but again, the wonderful thing about it is just how linear the power unit is. It's really unintimidating, and while it is ridiculously quick at the top when it is putting out the 200 horsepower, at no point does it surprise you, at no point does it really scare you with the way it comes in, and it just means it's really manageable. And I think manageable and accessible is probably the best way to describe the GSXR1000 as a whole. The handling is absolutely fantastic. You don't need to be an expert to ride this fast. The power is very predictable, the brakes are really predictable, yet really powerful. And generally it's been a really comfy, really fast, and really easy bike to live with. I've done absolutely everything with it. I've been on the highway with it, I've done back roads with it, I've done the shopping with it, I've even been to IKEA on it, and there's not really an environment that I've found that it hasn't performed absolutely fantastically. It's been really good. So far, only really good news from Suzuki's new GSXR1000, which begs the question, is there stuff that I don't like about it? And the answer is most definitely yes to that. So, one of the things that I first found is that the finish isn't quite on par with maybe some of its rivals. It's a bit hard to put my finger on it. It's small things like plastic not feeling quite as robust, things like finishes like either powder coating or paint that doesn't quite feel like it may fare as well long term as some of the rivals might. Little things like that where it feels a little bit more budget than maybe some of the other bikes out there. The second thing I have to complain about it is it does not have a quick shifter. Now I mentioned this earlier, I understand that you can get one if you get the upgraded GSXR1000R, but I missed it. This is 200 horsepower, and at that speed, I know it's a tiny difference, but you really don't have the time to be clutching. You just want to go bang, 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 bang. Sure, you can do it while closing the throttle, but it's not the same. I feel that at this price point in 2017, it simply should come with a quick shifter. But all in all, this is a lot of value for money. And that kind of brings me to the final point, which is the price point. Now, here in Holland, this sells for 20,399 euros, which makes it objectively, unquestionably, the cheapest 1000cc Supersport you can buy. However, despite the fact that that is a very objective statement, that should be taken with a very large pinch of salt, because it is not cheap by a very large margin. For 100 euros more, you can get a Kawasaki ZX10, and for only 135 euros more, you can get an Aprilia RSV4. Now, the following is going to be very subjective, so take this as you may. However, it is my opinion that the Aprilia brand, as well as the engine, the V4 that it has, is a lot more exotic than this Japanese inline 4. And objectively speaking, the Aprilia is better equipped. It has launch control standard, and it has a quick shifter, which, as I said, is something that I miss on this bike. And the difference is only 135 euros. Having said that though, this is definitely the GSXR that you Gixxer fans have been waiting for so long. Which bike you choose, in sort of the 1000cc superbike range, is up to you, and a lot of it's going to come down to personal preference, what kind of engine character you like, which design do you like, which brand do you feel most affiliated with. But there is absolutely no doubt that this is a very complete package. It is unquestionably the cheapest 1000cc Supersport out there, even though that is by a small margin. It is ridiculously fast, it is really easy to ride, it is well equipped, and there's absolutely no doubt that if you are a big GSXR fan and you've been waiting for the next big thing, this is going to be it. It is a very nice piece of kit.